Newton's laws of motion. Hello and welcome again to Alpha Science Academy. Today, we'll be discussing one of the most fundamental concepts in physics: Newton's laws of motion. These laws help us understand how objects move and interact with each other. Let's dive into it. First law of motion. Newton's first law of motion states that an object at rest will remain at rest, and an object in motion will remain in motion unless acted upon by an external force. In other words, objects tend to maintain their state of motion unless something interferes with them. This is also known as the law of inertia. Second law of motion. Newton's second law of motion explains how an external force affects an object's motion. It states that the acceleration of an object is directly proportional to the force applied to it, and inversely proportional to its mass. This means that if you apply a greater force to an object with less mass, it will accelerate more than an object with greater mass. Third law of motion. Newton's third law of motion is perhaps the most famous. It states that for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. In other words, when one object exerts a force on another object, the second object exerts an equal and opposite force back on the first object. This is what allows objects to move and interact with each other. Examples of these laws. Let's take a look at some examples to help illustrate these laws. First, let's consider a book lying on a table. According to the first law of motion, the book will remain at rest unless acted upon by an external force, such as someone picking it up. If we do pick up the book, we are applying a force to it. As explained by the second law of motion, the book will then move in the direction of the force applied, with its acceleration depending on the force applied and its mass. Conclusion. So there you have it, Newton's laws of motion. These laws are essential for understanding how objects move and interact with each other. Remember, objects tend to maintain their state of motion unless acted upon by an external force. The acceleration of an object is directly proportional to the force applied to it and inversely proportional to its mass. And for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. That's it for today. Thanks for tuning into Alpha Science Academy. And we'll see you next time.